Greetings, fellow watch comrades, and welcome to the individual segment on the Aviator Sikorsky model, one of the commemorative models that have been produced by Volmax for several different things. There's Gagarin commemoratives, there are Sputnik commemoratives of just a number of things. The Strela from the spacewalks, and this is commemorative of Igor Sikorsky, the father of the helicopter. The number on this one is 3133 to 111822. Now, the Sikorsky's been out a while as well. This isn't a new model. Nevertheless, it is a case that has been extremely popular and well loved among the people who, picked them up and have enjoyed them and told me about it many, many times, especially with that really cool case back right there where we're celebrating 100 years of the helicopter. Let me run through some of the basic specs. It's about a 41 millimeter case, but that's a cross. It's really hard to say with this one because of the way it's shaped. It is an unusual shape. It is not a small watch, and it doesn't wear small. It's a 23 joule 3133 movement in here. That's the 2i Chrono, which is the standard bearer of Russian chronographs built by MacTime, formerly by Poljot, but still referred to as a Poljot movement. You've got hours, minutes, seconds, a date calendar, and the stopwatch with the summing up action, which is a 30-minute counter on the 3133. This one is going to give you a power reserve with the chronograph running of about 37 hours. Without the chronograph, about 42 hours, which is pretty much the same for all Aviator Chronos with the 3133, although you can get more than that out of that, and I have myself many, many times, up to 60, even I think I got 62 hours out of one without the chronograph running once. You got your decorated case back on this, again celebrating 100 years of the helicopter and commemorating Igor Sikorsky, who was the father of what we refer to as the helicopter. I actually got to see one of his early helicopters in the Aeronautic Museum here in Connecticut, near Hartford at the airport. They had one of his early helicopters there. It was really interesting. There's the lovely Sarah showing us the Sikorsky on her wrist, and again we welcome her to the show and appreciate her now being in her second show with us. Some of the other things about this watch, it does have an exterior rotating bezel, and it's kind of an unusual one. It's not something you're going to see just anywhere. And I picked up some information about that because several people asked me, what in the world is this bezel for? So what you've got actually is, it turns out that bezel measures hours and minutes of time. That bezel does not measure hours and minutes of time, but rather degrees and minutes of longitude. It was invented and patented by Charles Lindbergh back in 1935. It was used when one is navigating by the sun or stars to correct for the equation of time. Shout out to Brandon at the Equation of Time website. That is the difference between time as measured by an astronomical object, for example the sun, and the time as measured by a mechanical object, for example a watch. We gave it a try actually, and it really works. We used the watch to compute longitude, and we did it without correcting for the equation of time. The longitude we computed was off by 3 degrees 15 minutes. When we did it using the bezel to account for the equation of time, it was off by less than 2 minutes of longitude. So it really does work, and it's a really cool thing. So you could even argue that this one is commemorative of not only Igor Sikorsky, but 2 aviators in adding in Charles Lindbergh. So pretty cool there. One of the things I love about this watch, if you look there at the dial on Sarah's wrist, I love how those subdials are shaped exactly like the shape of the case. It really makes for a nice reminiscence. I love the those spring-loaded chronograph pushers on there. They really add a nice flair to it. Again, this is not one that's necessarily for everybody. This is an unusual look. It isn't your standard, kind of like one of the other aviators we did in this particular show. This isn't really the standard thing. This isn't more of a different look. If you're wanting people to really notice your wrist and notice your watch, this is the standard. And I'm actually going to check, and I'm going to put it in the text. I think that's bigger than 40 millimeters across. I'm going to check that. I'm not going to re-record this whole segment for that purpose, but I'll put it in the text with the video if I'm incorrect on that 40 millimeters, because this is a pretty good size watch. I mean, it wears pretty big on the wrist. This is built by Aviator, which is owned by Volmax. built in Moscow at the former First Moscow Watch Factory. In that room where they build these watches, and look at the loom on this one, very good loom on this one as well. Where they build the watches is over 300 years of watchmaking experience. I actually got to be there and watch them put watches together, and it was a pretty amazing experience. So this is a Sikorsky commemorative. Not many of these left, guys, so pick them up while you can. And as I always say, I'm Craig Hester, the Watch Comrade, and thanks for watching.